Part 22. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 212. 211 Turtle Shell Mountain. Defeated. Chaha sweated a little, and turned to see Master Xia. Brother Xia saw the distrust of Chaha Khan, and his face was annoyed, and his face sank. Cha Khan, is it because you don't believe in the husband? The old man tells you that even if the old man can only use half his mana, no, the old man also has the confidence to easily take his life. Master Xia became angry. Chaha Khan quickly apologized. Master, don't be angry, Ben Khan is confident in the master. That's good, Brother Xia snorted coldly, and patted the beast bag, and saw a big cormorant shaking his head and tail flying out. In the blink of an eye, the fly became bigger and bigger, and in the blink of an eye it became a 100-footed centipede. The most surprising thing was that there were 4 pairs of 8 small wings on the back of the fly. Seeing such a fierce spirit beast, let alone the people in the southern capital, even the soldiers of the barbarians took a breath of air and looked at them with horrified eyes, and those soldiers who were near were even more frightened, constantly flinching, and even soldiers' scared legs and feet soft and unstable. In fact, Chaha was very scared. He leaned on his ant recently and looked at the long hairy legs. He sweated coldly on the back, and then looked at the fierce little eyes of Chaha. Sweating couldn't help fighting the calf. Do NT be afraid of sweating? In fact, it is very good. Brother Xia was very satisfied with the shock of his own beast. At least it scared a lot of people. He kicked off in a showy and said, "This is the old man. The horse's mount, called the 8-winged wren, already has the cultivation practice in the later period of the foundation construction. In fact, it does not require the old man to take a shot, that is, the old man's spirit beast, which can easily kill the young monk during the refining period." Chaha sweated and held back, and praised, "It really is a good thing. It looks handsome and amazing at first sight." This guy was so scared that he could stop using words. "Haha, sweating and watching me go and kill this little monk who doesn't know how to die." Brother Xia laughed proudly, stepped on the 8-winged owl, and urged her to take off. Ben Khan is waiting for good news. Chaha sweated a cold sweat from his forehead, and said, "Go away, hurry, it is really ugly and terrifying." "Boy, what's your helper? Where's that nun? Let's come out together." Brother Xia was also a little embarrassed. Although he was a monk Jadan, now he can only use the water in the middle of the foundation. If that is the middle of the foundation, the little girl Ziyafeng appears again, then he must be careful. Yekong certainly knew his thoughts, and snorted coldly, "Are you afraid? If you are afraid, let's go." Brother Xia was ridiculed and angered by him, cursing, "Boy, even if that woman is here, my husband is not afraid of you. Then you still have so much nonsense. Let's get over the horse." Yekong patted the storage bag, and the Ursuo sword was already in hand. Although the small sword weapon was used smoothly, it was damaged, and Yekong was afraid he would use it again. Huang Quan's ancestors are affected, so they are generally not used. "Then don't blame me," Master Xia sipped. What made Yekong unhappy was that the old man's destiny magic weapon turned out to be a turtle. No, it was a turtle shell. "Old man, have you been a green-haired turtle for a long time? All the magic weapons use tortoise shells." But it is hard to say that although the turtle is a turtle, the fish and the flesh go back home. Listening to Yekong's irony, the head of the southern city, all the people and soldiers in the army laughed. Although the immortal opposite looked very fierce, the people in the southern capital had extraordinary trust in Master Yes 8 Masters. In their view, there was no one whom Master 8 couldn't handle. But obviously, everyone is too optimistic. Master Xia was helpless in refining this magic weapon. When he was promoted to monk Jadan, the door was in trouble with Bing Lingman, and no one helped him prepare the materials for the magic weapon, but it happened that he hunted although the tortoise, which is only to be reached for many years, has refined this magic weapon. Although this magic weapon is often ridiculed, it has to be admitted that the power of this magic weapon is still quite powerful. The other magical monks of the spirit bone door are slightly inferior to this turtle shell. Laughed by Yekong, Master Xia's mouth had a faint smile. Laugh, you won't be able to laugh anymore. Large, Brother Xia shouted at the answer, yelling at the turtle shell. The tortoise shell flew into the sky, and then rose like a balloon. The people of the southern capital looked up and saw that little bit, and they grew up to look like a mountain, suspended in the middle of a mountain, and the shadow covered the entire southern capital. Not good, if this mountain is smashed down. Not only stood on the top of the city and watched the people scared, even the people in the city were scared. You know, if this mountain is smashed down, most of the southern capital will be stricken. Smashed flat. The people panicked and went down the city wall, wanting to run to the north of the city, as if there weren't been blocked by this turtle shell mountain. However, some people in the crowd shouted, "What is running? Is it useful to run? There are people in the city, people die in the city." The panicked people immediately stopped and said, if the city is destroyed, even if it is not smashed for the time being, it will be killed by the army of barbarians. Master 8. Stand up to wow, I don't know when the people have started shouting. Hee, Master 8, do you live? Master Xia looked up and laughed. Fu Bao, Bone Ruler, Wu Suojian belongs to that kind of pliable magic weapon. It is certainly impossible to resist such a powerful turtle shell, so Yekong simply sacrificed Fu Bao. As soon as the gray scale appeared, it rose to the top of Yekong's head, and then broke down like a reproduction. It quickly became 2, 4, and 8, and soon, hundreds of bones appeared on the top of Yekong's head. Gathering, Yekong double-fingered his phalanx, and when he saw the hundreds of ulnars, he immediately obediently gathered together, like building blocks, to form a huge pillar with a gray haze. Then Yekong spit out another word, top. Oh, when the gray pillar formed by the bone ruler topped Turtle Shell Mountain, a dull sound burst immediately, as if a broken bell was knocked. Xia Yuanhao's bone ruler, Brother Xia was too familiar to see the bone ruler, but he was also surprised. In just half a month, the boy actually made the bone ruler into a rune. You know, this rune only the monk Yuanying can make it. However, seeing this bone ruler, Brother Xia was not worried. He sneered, "Boy, let alone you, even if Xia Yuanhao came by himself, this bone ruler could not hold the old man's turtle shell." Brother Xia is still very confident. He has played against Xia Yuanhao more than once in Gulingshan, and he has a lot of magical powers against each other. He knows that this bone ruler is not his opponent's turtle shell. Shock, Brother Xia pointed at Gi Hushan again. The tortoise shell trembled immediately, and this tremor immediately sounded a rhythmic thumping sound, and the bone ruler was a bit overwhelmed, and it was shaken so that the root measure was scattered. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 213. 212 Long Way. Okay, looking at the bone and ruler, the Chahakan watching in the barbarian army gave a sigh of admiration, and then tens of thousands of barbarian soldiers raised their swords and shouted, "Long live!" Ha ha, ha ha. Brother Xia laughed exaggeratedly and said, "Boy, I can't support it right away. Wait for the old man's turtle shell mountain to come down, not only you, but the people behind you, all squeezed into flesh. Want to live? If you want to live, surrender the 5 spiritual cards. Old husband, spare you not to die. Dare to love this guy, still remember those 5 Ling Cambodia. I have only this means when you are a grandfather." Yekong snorted coldly, and patted the storage bag again, offering a green gourd. Water sword. I saw a water column spray from the gourd, and the water column quickly condensed into a giant sword. Top, the giant sword flew up, slamming it against Turtle Shell Mountain, and letting it shake again. The water curtain giant sword remained motionless. Gubeo, Monk Xia's eyes lit up instantly, and the barbarian monks were very poor. High-end instruments were hard to see. Seeing this, Gubeo at the moment made his eyes emit a greedy light. Boy! There are many good things. Wow, it seems that the old man has done a good job today. Ha ha ha. Yeah, it's up to you if you take it. Yekong smiled ironically, and pointed at the fire and gourd, and spit out a bunch of profound and inexplicable words. I saw that the water and fire gourd suddenly became several times larger, and then flew up into the air, facing the side of the turtle shell mountain, emitting a white flame. So cold. Yeah, why is it so cold? The people in the city suddenly felt the boundless chill, and some of them wore little clothes and even started to fight with their teeth. What kind of fire is this? Although it was the monk Jadan, but the monk had poor knowledge. He had never heard of any Kangbei cold fire, but he knew that the fire was not ordinary. The cold fire in Kangbei was really extraordinary. Before burning it for a while, Monk Xia felt that his big turtle shell was a bit overwhelmed, and he felt that it was about to melt. Receive, Monk Xia hurriedly recovered the turtle shell. If he burned it again, his innate magic weapon would really be damaged. For his monk with broken Jindan, he could no longer bear the damage caused by the magic weapon damage. If Brother Xia was aware of current affairs, Yekong would not kill him if he left at the moment. After all, there was not so much hatred. However, Brother Xia became greedy, especially the powerful ancient treasure. He vowed to get it. What's more, Yekong is just a minor repairer in the fourth layer of gas refining. He still has contempt. Boy! I can't kill you with an ancient gourd, Brother Xia snorted coldly, picked up the flying technique, and left the foot of the octopus, and then pointed opposite. Go! Bid him. After receiving the order, the octopus cricket was excited to quake the wings of the earthquake. 100 insect legs were swiping back and forth, and then rushed to Yekong with a buzz. Yekong did not dare to neglect, manipulated the water sword, and stabbed towards the octopus. But that magpie was also very evil, and a black mist was sprayed out of the mouth. The black mist kept flowing, and it even resisted the huge water sword. By me, Yekong took the water sword into the water fire gourd, and then used the Kangbei cold fire to spray the black mist. The octopus cricket seems to know that the cold fire is severe, and immediately backed the dark mist to dodge the flames of the cold fire. Don't look at this cricket, it is not small, but it can fly in the air to dodge it. Less than its long body. Brother Xia was not idle, biting the tip of his tongue and spitting a mist of blood at the turtle shell that flew back. Oh, blood mist huddled around the turtle shell, and then saw that the turtle shell was actually put on Monk Xia's body. I trust, Ninja Turtle, Yekong knows that this guy is not easy to deal with. After all, he used to be the most powerful elder Jadan of the Lingumen, and the camel was thinner than a horse. Even if Monk Xia was injured, Yekong, this gas refining monk, is also very difficult to deal with. What's more, there was a big cricket flying around, always ready to sneak attack on Yekong. Deu! Come out and help! With Yekong's order, Deu emerged from the spirit beast's circle, raised his head and said, Ang! Long Xiao Yu Ye, the sound of sound in all directions. In fact, the sound is not so loud, but the key dragon is born with the power of a king, and the worship of dragons in the Kangnan mainland. This out, the soldiers on both sides immediately rioted. The city of Nandu City is already full of people. There are soldiers and people. Those who cannot reach the city are all climbing to their roofs to watch this life and death battle that concerns everyone's life. When Deo came out, the people knelt down and scratched their heads. Dragons were their totems, and the gods in their hearts. The opposite Jahakan and many barbarian soldiers suddenly had an ominous premonition. The dragon was also an awesome to them. It was not a good idea to offend the dragon god. I don't know if Master Xiaodas can defeat this water dragon, Chaha sweated frowning. Can you defeat the dragon? Are you dreaming? This will never happen. Never. The right wife, the old adulterer, has already noticed the clues, and hastened to remind him, Big Sweat, the situation is not good, con plans early. But he couldn't wait to make any more plans. After a dragon chant, Dao's huge body hovered in the sky, and then a dragon head was glared at the octopus. The 8-winged cricket scared the whole body, and then banged on the ground with a bang. Its long body became smaller and became the size of a common cricket. After digging a hole in the ground, it buried itself. Yekong couldn't help but sigh. Dragon X was really Cow X, and just staring, he changed the mighty octagonal wings back to its original form. Monk Xia, who wanted to kill someone for treasure, saw Yekong release a dragon, and he knew that the big event was bad. The dragon has always existed only in legends. It is a species that has long disappeared in this world. Although the dragon is gone, it has left the legend, the prestige, and the mysterious heart. How could Brother Xia not be afraid? Coupled with seeing for themselves that the spirit beast was afraid of it, Monk Xia knew that he was kicked on the iron plate, not to mention killing and stealing treasure. Even if his life could be saved, he also said two things. Where there is life, there is hope. Brother Xia is gone, and he can't escape if he wants to escape. He also knows that Yekong won't let him go, so he simply played a game. Jin Dan gets off. In the anxiety of Monk Xia, he didn't even need the physical body. A golden can, a cracked Jin Dan was spit out from his mouth, and then the turtle shell magic weapon wrapped the Jin Dan. A golden photoelectric shot out. Unbeatable fast. In general, the detached Jindan or Yuanying escape quickly. As long as the other party is not prepared in advance, they will let them escape. Boy! You are waiting. Brother Xia, who turned into Jin Dan, did not forget to leave a threat. He knew that at this moment, even the dragon could not catch up with the speed. He thought in his heart that when Laozi found his physical body, he took a few decades to practice, and Laozi was an old ancestor again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 214. 2, 3, all killed. What about chasing? Dao asked. No chase. Yekong smiled lightly. Let him run away. Dao was unwilling, but she also knew that she would chase again at this moment, for fear that she could not catch up. How can he let him escape? Yekong sneered at the corner of his mouth, patted a storage bag, and a brass bell flew out. Dementing bell. This is the demented bell that is enchanted, and now this thing has a new function to recruit souls. If you in the soul of a Middandan, the power of this bell must be greatly increased, right? Yekong thought, lifted his finger, his index finger popped out. Dang! The long and crisp ringtone immediately sounded. This ringtone had no effect on mortals, and it had a dementing effect on monks, but it had a more powerful and obvious effect on souls. Jin Dan, who flew far away, felt consciousness for a while, went around, and flew back, and then the golden monk Jin Dan obediently entered the mouth of Dementor Bell. The turtle's shell was no longer owned and slammed into the ground freely. What about the ancestor Jidan? I have to die if I get caught. Yekong snorted coldly, put away the Dementor Bell, and drew the turtle shell and the storage bag of Monk Xia into the storage bag. Seeing Yekong's victory, the head of the southern capital suddenly boiled. Every sergeant and every citizen shouted madly, "Long live the Eighth Master! Long live the Eighth Master!" They knew that if it wasn't for Yekong, there would be only one person in the city, and the city would be ruined. Master 8 saved the city and all the people in the city. How could they not be grateful? Lu Jun and Lu Yi were looking around. They were looking for Lu Qin, and Yekong's battle had shocked the people in the city. If the 3 women who escaped were still in the southern capital, they would definitely come. Unlike the excitement of the southern capital, the barbarian camp was dead, and each barbarian soldier looked up at their sweat, waiting for the order to retreat. Even the immortals are defeated. How many of them do they die? Chaha Khan was pale, and he did not expect that Master Xia, who had high hopes, had also lost, and even his soul had not escaped. At this moment, he had no way at all. What dreams, ambitions, domineering, conquer the world, dominating the grasslands, have nothing to do with him. He just wants to live. That's it. In front of many soldiers, Chaha Khan couldn't speak softly, and had to hit his right-hand prince with his arm. Right prince immediately understood the meaning, saluting to Yekong, "Immortal Master, your divine power has surprised me and other mortals, please allow me, on behalf of Chaha Khan and all the barbarians, to send you the supreme respect. Please allow me invite the Immortal Master to enter our barbarian account." Right after you said that, I felt that it was not enough, and quickly added a sentence, "Discuss the specific details of our withdrawal." The words of the right-hander made Chaha Khan very satisfied. Not only did he tell the soldiers to retreat, but he did not lose his respect. In his view, the purpose of the monk was simply to retire the soldiers, so that the people of Manchnan would be exempted from charring. Of course, there will be something to say after the account is credited. Even Chaha Khan thought about doing everything possible to win over this young and powerful monk. But Yekajao didn't do that at all. "Zaha sweats, it seems you haven't figured it out yet," Yekong Lenghung said. "I'm not a general of Angwo, and I don't have the responsibility to protect the soil and protect the territory. I shouldn't have participated in the War of Mortals." Chaha sweated a little, and didn't understand Yekong's meaning, and then he heard Yekong say, "I appeared here because you killed my elder brother Yewei. I'm here to get revenge." When Chaha Khan heard it, he knew it was not good, and he didn't want to open his mouth. He looked up and said, "Immortal Master, you are wrong. How can there be undead in battle between the two armies? Yewei and his army killed him. How many barbarians, in order to show our sincerity, our barbarians have decided to retreat immediately and compensate for the losses. You can make an offer." Yekong laughed, and Yewei took the food container to the hut to see him again. He laughed, but his eyes moved with tears. "Don't tell me anything. I only know that if you kill my loved ones, I will kill them. And the compensation you have to pay is your life. There is nothing to replace." Chaha Khan did not expect that the monk wanted to do it was just killing himself. He knew that begging for mercy was useless. He simply pointed at Yekong angrily and shouted, "How many years have the barbarians fought against the north? The monk killed the leader of the other party. This is the rule set by the ancestors of the two ancestors. Are you not afraid of being hunted down by the high-ranking monks of the barbarians? You are not afraid of the hatred of the barbarians from the north? Then let the hatred go deeper." Yekong roared, his eyes were red, his sleeves waved, and a piece of white rune paper appeared in his hands. "Blood debt can only be paid with blood." Yekong laughed loudly, and the bone ruler Fu Bao above his head got more and more points. Looking away, it looked like a grey cloud above his head. "Sweat, he's crazy, let's run away," right-handed minister shouted, and he didn't care about the others, jumped on a horse next to him, and fled. Khan took the lead in escaping, and those barbarian soldiers also panicked. Hundreds of thousands of troops left the camp and fled madly. "Regrets, it's too late. What you have done will be punished." Yekong waved his hand. "Go with." The bone ruler flew into the barracks of the barbarian army, just like the skyfly locust, constantly harvesting the life of the sergeant. Although the more bone ruler the more power, the smaller the power, but this is a Fu Bao after all. The mortal sword is simply unbearable in the blink of an eye. Chaha Khan and countless barbarian soldiers died on the spot. "Let's all die." Yekong felt that he was really crazy. He killed too many people today, but he would never regret it. Let him see what the rules and agreements are. Those who kill my loved ones must die. The bone ruler is not enough. Yekong is driving Deu, chasing the barbarous army, waving his hands constantly, and the low-level and middle-level spells are constantly thrown out. Sometimes, human life is really worthless. Kill, kill. Kill them all. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 215. Great Victory of Nandu. 2 days later, the capital of Angwo, the capital of Andu, the imperial palace. The emperor and Rushan sat on the dragon's chair steadily. He swept away the many officials kneeling underneath. He had endless heroism. He has been sitting on the dragon's chair for more than 10 years, and there are still half a month. 2 years. He likes to sit on a dragon chair, this feeling of being able to swallow mountains and rivers, overlooking the earth. On the day he ascended the throne, he fell in love with this feeling. He would sit for another 12 years, no, not enough, he wanted to sit for another 120 years, or even longer. He didn't know whether he was a prince or a faint prince. He only knew that sitting on the emperor was very cool. He had everything in his hands. He would kill anyone who wanted to kill, and kill anyone who was disobedient. Everyone would kneel on himself. In front of you, you can take everything away from them at any time, and even turn them into a pile of minced meat. No one can challenge my authority, no one. Harem is an example. Early play early, no retreat. In front of the dragon chair, the old shouted with a male duck's voice routinely. The court has a honor. A burly old man stepped out of the train, waved his sleeves, and said loudly, according to the 800th Military Intelligence Express, the 5th day of the siege of the southern capital, a ferry appeared in the city. The ferry uses ferry, repel the barbarian army. As soon as the old man spoke, many ministers began to talk. In mortal wars, there are generally no cultivators. This is a rule generally accepted by all monks in the Kangnan continent, so this makes them strange. Then the old man said, in this battle, Chaha was killed in a great battle, and right-hand minister Kamuhi was killed in the battle. 8 million captains were killed, numerous army soldiers were killed and wounded. The number of martyrs was 10,000. The specific number is unknown. This said, even an Rushan was surprised. This is simply a massacre. Where did the immortals do such a big thing and help themselves so much? Now Harem is dead and the barbarians are defeated. The Nanzhou area has finally become the real king. Ha 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 ha. When an Rushan was startled, he laughed immediately and said, "It is God blessing me. God blessing me." The old man who played so much did not have any joy, and said, "Emperor, if you know who this immortal is, you can't cry if you cry." The emperor smiled, and the civil and military officials also laughed. Another Chinese official came out of the train and said, "Your Majesty, you are wise and savvy, and the governing party. Even the immortals admire you and help you retreat." Another came out and said, "This immortal saved the urgency of the southern capital. Her Majesty should pass on his will and seal the temple." Another said, "His Majesty, in his opinion, to celebrate the victory of the southern capital, it is better to confer the decree, reward the officers and men, and celebrate the whole day." They were all ready to celebrate, but someone was calm. Not far from the emperor, there were 2 ordinary men, one in his 20s, and the other a white-haired old man. These 2 were the monks sent by the Elixir Mountain to protect An Rushan. The white-haired old man whispered in a low voice, "Where did the monk come from? How can he not understand the rules? The monks can also fight wars with mortals, isn't that all right?" The young monk also nodded and said, "Monks must not participate in mortal wars, or they will be hunted down by all monks in Kangnan. Isn't this monk afraid?" The old man with white hair said, "Although he helped Angwo, Angwo couldn't protect him because he broke the agreement between the 2 clans. Otherwise, he might provoke a war that the monk saw." In that case, there will be more deaths and injuries. The young monk shook his head and said, I think this immortal must have been cultivated in a profound way. There is no agreement between the two races, and I am not afraid of the pursuit of the barbarian monks. The young monk made a lot of sense. If this fairy is an ancestor of the ancestor, then nothing will happen. The barbarian monk will definitely not offend an ancestor of the ancestor for some mortals. But the white-haired old man shook his head again, it's unlikely. Those ancestors of the babies were all aware of the situation early on, so why would they be interested in the life and death of mortals? The young monk was right when he thought about it, and he said, anyway, there is a powerful monk in Anguo's realm. We should find out the situation early and report it to the door to let the head ancestor make a decision. After the young monk spoke, he stood still, waiting for the old monk to ask. I know nothing about respect for the elderly. The old monk was upset, but there was nothing he could do. The way to cultivate an immortal was not to look at your age, but to look at cultivation. Although I was like the young monk at the initial stage of foundation building, but who made others young? The road ahead is limitless, and I am already old. How can I set up a foundation to succeed at this age? The old monk stepped forward and whispered to the emperor and Rushan. And Rushan immediately nodded his head and asked aloud, Ecchi, have you ever inquired about the monk's name, where he lives, etc. realm and cultivation? The old man who falsely accused the military situation was Ecchi. He looked bitter and finally asked for an idea. Your Majesty, Chen, will return to you later. Lord, he bowed his head. And Rushan was a little displeased, and he said angrily, know what you know, why you can't talk about it, say it quickly, let me tell you what you say. Yes. This fairy is named, Ecchi. Ecchi, the emperor muttered, and said, how could this name be so familiar? Hearing Ecchi's name, she calmed down in the hall some unknowingly, seeing others calm down, they don't know what happened. In fact, Ecchi's name was not so famous. The key is that 2 days ago, the name was mentioned in a secret recital by Huangzhou Xianxia. Although it is a secret tune, but the ministers are all well-informed people, and soon they know the content, so the name Ecchi makes them remember the new. Soon, and Rushan also remembered the name. The joy just now disappeared, sneer, it was him. Knowing that it was Yeharan's 8th son, and Rushan had no fear. In fact, 2 days ago, he had talked with the 2 monks protecting him clearly on this issue. He knew this Ecchi was just a 4-layer practice of refining gas, which was very low in the monk's rank. His 2 protection immortals were very powerful base building periods. But what worried and Rushan was that I heard that Ecchi was carrying a train. This boy's cultivation is not a concern, but if he has a dragon, it is different. The dragon is a creature that has long disappeared in this world. I heard that the dragon is sowing clouds and scattered rain and has infinite power. Although Rushan was sitting in a dragon chair and wearing a dragon robe, he had never seen a dragon, and he was very awed by the real dragon. But the 2 immortals dismissed his concerns. Both immortals have said that the dragon has disappeared in this world for many years, and it is impossible to appear. 10,000 steps back, even if there is a dragon, it is not a young monk during the gas-gathering period can surrender. The 2 immortal divisions also explained what the water in Huangzhou City's secret letter said that many people saw with their own eyes. The dragon was not a true dragon that day, it was just a magic spell transformed from water, which was not unusual, just that ordinary people were too rare and strange. In order to reassure Rushan, the old monk even showed water dragon face to face, playing more than 10 slap water dragons, and looked very powerful. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 216. Worry of Emperor 21. His Majesty Jinya, Lord, he continued to habituate, after 3 days of extrication from the southern capital, Hu Delhi of the southern capital city did not send any news. According to his analysis, I am afraid that it is Lord Hu who has also been brutally killed by Ye Kong. This villain, hearing here, Long Yan was furious, and Jin Dian calmed down. Even those guys who didn't know the situation, were careful at this moment. Obviously, this immortal Ye Kong did not repel the barbarians for Nguo, but revenge for Yejiajin. He not only killed the barbarians, but also killed the court guards. The next step, will not be to undo. All the ministers were shocked when they thought about it, and a minister immediately stepped out and said, His Majesty, the minister thinks that the most important thing is to strengthen the defense of the capital of Andu, and send guards in the palace in case this is a bad thing. Heart of. He also agreed, according to Hu Keixiao, the son of Hu Changxiao, Ye Kong has always been arrogant, he must come to Andu to do business, so the defense must be strengthened. What's the use of more ordinary guards? And Rushan glanced down and suddenly hated the secret agent in his hand. Why didn't those guys find out earlier that Ye Harem had a monk? If I had known that the Ye family had a cultivator, he would continue to use Ye Huanro to deal with Ye Harem, and there is no need to do it now. And Rushan thought about a headache, and waved his hand, saying, I'm a little uncomfortable. Let's retreat early today. Well, also, both the city defense of the capital and the guard of the Forbidden Palace must be strengthened. Men from Nanzhou are not allowed to enter city. Although mortal soldiers have no use for immortals, but there is no way to talk about it. It is also good to let Ye Kong live in advance. After An Rushan ordered, he took the two monks and left the Golden Temple. Your Majesty should not be troubled, but he is a young monk during the refining period. He is afraid that he will not come, as long as he dares to come. The young monk flashed a fierce look in the eyes, and said coldly, he must be extinct. The young monk said that it was easy, but An Rushan was still not assured. He said, but the kid can kill tens of thousands of people at once. An Rushan couldn't doubt the ability of the two monks and had to remind him, maybe the information below there is a mistake. In case Ye Kong is not in the gas refining period, shall we report it to the Master Lian He of Linjiashan? The young monk was more conceited, and laughed, Your Majesty, don't worry about it. What does it mean for a monk to kill thousands of mortals? What's more, even if he is not in the gas refining period, even if he is higher than us, even he was a monk during the UN infant, the real person also has a way to make His Majesty temporarily safe, and Enron is waiting for the rescue of our elder monk in the Elixir Mountain. It's so good, and Rushan was overjoyed when he heard that. Since this monk said so, what else could he worry about? Even if they can't beat Ye Kong, they still have a way to save their lives. When the ancestors of Ling Yaoshan come to rescue, what are they afraid of? Two real people, I really do know how to thank you. And Rushan's gratitude overflowed with words. However, he couldn't bring out anything that the monks were interested in. The monks needed powerful tools, high-ranking fangs, various sections of skills, spiritual stones and jade, and fairy birds and beasts. These things were not available to mortal emperors. However, An Rushan thought for a moment, and there was still a way, woman, to send beautiful women to the fairy. Of course, the monk of the elixir is still relatively unmotivated, but it is better to send than not. They received their own gifts, only when you protect yourself will you be more attentive. Two immortal masters, I have nothing to do with you, even if these maids in the harem are in the palace, as long as the immortal master sees it. Oh, even the concubines and concubines can be this, and Rushan is really enough. Yes, women can let others play. However, there are exceptions, and Rushan added, except for Tang Shuja. Although Tang Shuja's status in the harem is not high, she is beautiful and amazing, and she has just given birth to a little prince, so she is so beloved by An Rushan that she is reluctant to take it out. An Rushan's move was even sincere, but it caused dissatisfaction among the young monks, and said, vulgarity, stubborn flowers, ruined flowers and willows, but also want to touch our fairy rain dew? Who are you? The young monk walked away after speaking, and Rushan was depressed for a while. Mother, are you willing to let your wife play for you as a wife, when I am stained with your light? In fact, and Rushan's idea was wrong. The monk had a relationship with a mortal woman. From a certain perspective, it is indeed a mortal woman who has light, not only to save face and beauty, but also to get rid of illness and Johnson. If you have a child, it will be a quarter. The odds have spiritual roots. Annoying the young monk, and Rushan said to the old monk a little with regret, Yan is some sincerity. I didn't expect Master Xiaoxian to dislike women, and I would like to help you with some good words. The old monk laughed and said, Your Majesty, he doesn't dislike women. Your Majesty, please remember that our young male Xiuyashan both secretly love Master Rulan, other women are not as good yet. Oh, it's Lian Rulan's real person, and Rushan nodded. More than half a year ago, Lian Rulan also came to Andu to guard him for a period of time. That kind of beauty made an Rushan fresh in his memory. Of course, he didn't dare to think about it. The real person who practiced Rulan was the core disciple of Ling Yaoshan, and his cultivation was amazing. He didn't want to die. Southern capital. Yekong has been searching for news about Chen Juniang and Luchin Xiaohong for the past 3 days, but the three seem to have evaporated, not only in the southern capital, but also in several nearby cities. Master 8, the tombs of the ancestors of the Ye family have already been prepared, and people can sacrifice. When Yekong was in a state of anxiety, Lu Changqing came in. The Ye family was massacred this time, and some corpses were not found, so they had to erect a tomb. But it is better to have a grave than nothing, even if Yekong gives them filial piety. Following Lu Changqing out of the backyard, I saw Yefu's Hong decorated with flowers and black cloth everywhere, like a funeral. Yekong walked to the front yard door, a little surprised, and saw that the people outside were full of sackcloths. They all looked awfully waiting to come in to commemorate General Ye's family. There were many people who could not see their heads. Yekong breathed a sigh of relief and said, The eyes of the masses are clear, let them come in to mourn. The hall was filled with a bunch of signs, most of which Yekong had never seen before, but this could not affect his grief. Brother, I have avenged you. Rest in peace. Mr. Zhang, I swear that I will find Zhang Jud, no matter how he cultivates, he will bring his first class to you. MRS 3, MRS 9, and Ye Long, Ye Hu, Ye Feng, Ye Yu, although you don't consider me Yekong as brothers, I wish you all the best. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 217. February 16th Revenge Plaque. Finally, Yekong walked to Yeharan's tablet and knelt down with 3 heads. Yeharan, no matter what, I took the treasure of your family, so I went to the road of immortality, so, I will avenge you, don't worry, soon. How in Rushan treats Ye's family, Yekong must treat him the same. Yekong's voice was not loud, but Lu Changqing and Feng Xiniang both heard behind them. They looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Master 8, are you really going to revenge in Andu? Feng Xiniang asked when she walked out of the hall. Yekong nodded, yes. But he is an emperor. If the king wants to die, he has to die. Even if you assassinate the emperor, there will still be a new emperor, and the Ye family will still not be innocent. I think you will still find the emperor, as long as he is willing to give it to the Ye family. Reverse the case. Lu Changqing was also persuading that he could not imagine that assassination of the emperor was a rebellion and that something was going to happen. Who said that I was going to assassinate him? Yekong's counter-question made Lu Changqing and Feng Xiniang tremble, but then they heard even more disobedience. How in Rushan treats the Ye family, so I treat Yekong. He destroys the Ye family, and I will destroy him. Lu Changqing and Feng Xiniang couldn't speak for a long time in shock. Oh my god, Master 8 was afraid he was crazy. I only heard that the emperor's family was destroyed, and no one had heard of the emperor's family. The Kangnan continent and Yekong are different from the earth. Because each imperial family has Xianxian sex, the imperial power is very stable, and the peasant uprising will never succeed. Therefore, the only end of rebellion in this world is death, absolutely not. May let you enter the capital and destroy the emperor's family. Yekong's thoughts were extremely shocked to these two people who grew up in the feudal imperial power. I didn't hear it wrong, Feng Xiniang took a sip, and quickly reminded, the emperor has hundreds of thousands of embargoes. Lu Changqing also said, I heard that the emperor is still protected by immortals, Master 8, otherwise, shall we discuss it from a long-term perspective? Yekong answered them with only 4 words. Bad me, dead. But Master 8. Lu Changqing still wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Yekong's wave. I've decided, you don't need to persuade. Since Yekong said so, then Lu Changqing had nothing to say, but just asked, Master Ye, no matter your success or failure, I'm afraid the Ye family will attract unprecedented blows. What are you going to do? Yekong smiled faintly, and asked, Yes, family is gone. What are you afraid of? No, I'm stupid, I mean, this tablet in Yefu and Yejia's grave. It's just some wooden signs. Although Yekong said so, he took Lu Changqing back to the room, patted a storage bag, and took out a piece of simple wood. Later, he used a small sword to repair the wood into a thin flat plaque. Lu Changqing and Feng Xiniang are a little strange. I do not know why Yekong is busy making plagues at this time. And the wood didn't look outstanding, but Yekong looked very cherished. The cut pieces were collected and put into storage bags. If they knew that these woods were what many monks dreamed of, the 100,000-year-old locust tree on the body of the transformation monster, and there was such a large piece, they would surely be speechless. Of course, Yekong wouldn't tell them. Yekong would rather they thought it was ordinary wood, otherwise they would spread it out. I do not know how many monks would come through the treasure. I am afraid that this plaque would be hung in the doorway within 3 days people stole. The shape of the plaque was split out, and Yekong took out the snow of the green viper, and wolf eyebrows with psychic charms, and walked around the dragon. After a while, he wrote 8 characters on the plaque. Tire for teeth, blood for blood. After Yekong finished writing, he drew many incomprehensible symbols on the back of the plaque. Then he asked Lu Changqing to hang out at the gate of the Ye family ancestral hall, and at the same time, he said, this plaque can be wiped and washed, but it must not be smashed, only tell your family. This is the protection method left by Yekong. If there is a house of enemies in the future, if you see this plaque, you will be angry and smashed. Then the rune on the back will be triggered, a violent explosion will be launched, and all nearby will be blown up. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 218. Drinking Spring. Stepping out of the door, Yekong called the Lu family brothers who had already returned. To his disappointment, Yekong still had no news about the old lady and they did not know where they had gone. But thinking of Lu Qin's martial arts and yellow paper runes, they should still be safe. Later, Yekong explained to them some trivial matters and set out on the way to Endu. A day later, outside the city of Endu, a grove. The woods are not large, there is a small hill bag. Yekong found a remote place, took out the small sword weapon, opened a simple cave, and then set up a spiritual seat in the cave. He knew that this time he was going to face up to Linjiao Mountain, so he must make all preparations. As Linjiao Mountain's spokesperson in the world, how could they allow themselves to kill An Rushan? An Rushan is mortal, but he backs up and has to guard against it. The spiritual medicine mountain is not far from Andu, so Yekong needs to be prepared. After the arrangement, Ecchi took out the flying carpet, laid it on the ground, and sat cross-legged. Ecchi didn't stop in his hand, and took out the Dementor bell, although there was still Jin Dan who was trapped in Master Xia, but it had not been refined. Only after refining, could the power of Dementor bell be increased. Ecchi only refined the 4 layers of gas. It took some time to refining the monk Jindan, and if Ecchi tried it at his current speed, it would take a month to completely refining the Jindan. For a month, Ecchi couldn't wait, but now he doesn't have much treasures. All he can use is the USO sword, waste drum fan, and water fire gourd. Otherwise, it is Fubao, and there are various spells. Then it is a bit troublesome, and the ancient treasure such as water fire gourd, he is unwilling to take it out before the critical moment. It would be much better if there was a powerful sound tapping bell in hand. First of all, this dementing bell is a group attack tool that can deal with a group of people at the same time. Second, if Monk Xia is refined, this bell will be effective for all monks below the base, and its power is still very powerful. Ecchi thought about it again and simply took out Ling Quan. He decided to upgrade Xiaowei first, and then refining Jindan. The so-called sharpening of the woodworker does not accidentally cut the woodworker, so the refining speed will be much faster. After taking a sip of Ling Quan, I immediately felt a strong aura spreading from my stomach. This is different from drinking spirit wine. Spirit wine can only add spiritual power. For example, it is like adding water to the pool. And Ling Quan is a large amount of aura. After entering the limbs and meridians, after running for a few days, you can directly expand the intake air, just like expanding the pool. The aura in the Ling Quan does not need to be refined. It can be incorporated into the sea of qi only if it runs in the body for a few days. However, do not drink too much at one time, otherwise the meridians of the extremities may feel overwhelmed. Ecchi once again took a good fortune to make the meridians strong, so he continued to drink spiritual spring cultivation. When taking out the good fortune Dan, Ecchi was slightly lost. Yeah, these are all for Lianrulan. Lianrulan is still waiting, but I have to build hatred with Ling Yaoshan. I wonder if Lianrulan knew all this, what would happen? But, do you want to give up your revenge? Impossible. Never impossible. You must kill my family. Father is not revenge, is it still human? However, Ecchi still had an idea in his heart. When possible, he should not try to kill the people in Linjiao Mountain, and don't make it difficult to practice Rulan. Take a sip of Ling Quan, practice, take another sip, and practice again. And his realm is also constantly breaking through quickly. 3 days later, Ling Quan drank it. He has also jumped from the 4th layer of gas refining to the peak of the 6th layer of gas refining. Seeing that it will break through to the late stage of gas refining, Ling Quan is exhausted. Generally speaking, for the monks in the refining period, this Ling Quan can be raised by 1 cup. However, the 5-element ascension scriptures practiced by Ecchi are too huge. 4 cups of half-spirit can only let he rose to the 2nd floor and approached the 3rd floor. However, with the current practice, Ecchi refined Jindan much faster. It took only 10 days to completely refine Master Xia's Jindan. Dang, the sound of the Dementor bell rang loudly, and Ecchi's heart was quite steady again. If there were no accidents, even if he came to a team of real people, he could instantly stun these guys. Half a second. And these half seconds were enough for him to kill 2 or more of them. Of course, if it is a monk during the refining period, this sound can directly stun him and seriously damage his consciousness. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 219. Killing the Imperial City on February 18. Looking at the dementing bell in his hand, Ecchi had a new idea. Since the magic weapon can be attached to the spirit, why can't you refine the spell into the magic weapon? Use a certain method to refine or scribe the magic charm on the magic weapon. Can this increase the power of the magic weapon? Ye Kong had an idea, but had no time to practice it. He made a lot of spells and made all the preparations, and then he broke through. Andu, the palace hall, another early dynasty began. Sitting on a dragon chair, and Rushan was in a good mood. As time passed, the days of worrying heart also passed slowly. I am the emperor. Behind the support of Xianxian faction. It would be nice if I didn't find him, but the son of the rebel still felt sorry for me. There is something early to play, no retreat from the original, the cried out routinely, and the early dynasty began. The minister has honor, said an old man in a shirt from the train, respectfully, His Majesty, the great prince is young and wise, and generous. He is now 16 years old, and he feels that the crown prince is not easy to hang now. As an emperor, and Rushan had many sons, with a total of 18. The eldest son, Enfi, is still very much appreciated by him, although there are a few others that are good, but Enfi is the eldest son of the emperor after all. However, Xianxia, who recently favored him, gave birth to a younger son, Enfi, and Rushan wanted to wait for Enfi to be a few years old to see how the 18 sons looked. So Rushan laughed and said, Ai Ching, you are not in a hurry. What are you anxious about? You know, they are all bloody, and the palms of your hands are all meat. The Confucian gentleman also wanted to say something, and Rushan waved another hand, ignored him, and asked, He King, has Jimin of Kyoto been settled recently? He King quickly came out and said, Your Majesty Hongfu, the city is settled and peaceful, and the people live and work in peace. The little rebel in Nanzhou has not come, please be at ease. And Rushan was a bit displeased, and the first half was a good one, but this last sentence, why listen so awkwardly? I'm very open-minded. I have 4 Cs, and there are famous masters to help. Maybe I'm afraid that Yi will not be successful. He King knew that she had said something wrong, and quickly laughed, Your Majesty, of course, is not afraid, Your Majesty is worried about why the boy is not here, and then you can wipe out the Ye family's sins. Longyan Daio, He King said, and Rushan laughed, that's right. Now I'm afraid that the kid won't come, and he will come back if he comes, and Rushan said, and then said, of course. You can't slacken your city defenses either. Prevent him from sneaking into Andu and the waiter destroys him. He is afraid to attack his opponent. He may have to do some small damage to vent his anger. The emperor was happy, and master he relaxed, and slapped his horse again, Your Majesty, how dare the offenders offend, and the minister guessed that he was hiding in an inhuman corner of the horns. Haha, the ministers in the palace laughed, and then another man in the military uniform came out and said, Your Majesty, in the past half a month, the land of Nanzhou has no government. If you are a country in the middle of the country, you should send officials to take over as early as possible to educate the people. I haven't been busy sending officials to Nandu for the past half month. Now it seems that Ye Kong is afraid to take revenge, so quickly pick up this ready-made peach. It makes sense, you guys recommend it alone. Nandu Chengxiao, also the highest governor of Nanzhou, was the official of Xinjiang, so the battle for the ground was fierce. These officials, who had been familiar with the Book of Sages since they were little, did not contribute to the people of Nandu when they were trapped in Nandu. They did not kill an enemy or have an idea, but now they are fighting for the post of Chengxiao. But before a result was reached, I heard a loud and clear call outside the hall. Where is Rushan? Come out and die. Ye Kong was in the air, with spiritual power in his voice, and spread very far. Not only the entire imperial city, but even the majority of the people in Andu city could hear it clearly. Who is so bold that he dared to cry out in public for His Majesty's name, wouldn't he want to die? Be quiet, it's a fairy. Over there, do you see it? Oh, see, a sheet hanging in the sky. What sheets? That's called a magic weapon, do you understand? Unfortunately we are standing too short to see what the fairy looks like. Get on the roof. Come on. Soon, the roofs of Andu city were full of people, and they wanted to see where the immortals came from and dare to challenge the king of a country in public. Abominable, it must have been the Ye family rebel, and Rushan growled angrily. He was still worried about the assassination. Who knew that the boy dared to come to the ground and challenge him? It's abominable, so loud, isn't this a deliberate loss of our royal face? And Rushan was so angry that he wanted to rush out with his sword. Your Majesty, don't go out just in case. The old monk hurried out and stopped. And Rushan heard that Yekong is not very powerful, so I also want to go out to show my guts. It's okay, let me go out, accompanied by two immortals, what am I afraid of him? They were arguing, but the hall was already in a mess, and the ministers and guards were struggling like headless flies. But more chaotic scenes are still behind. Yekong came to the door with a high profile this time, to completely wipe the royal face to the end. Assassination, and Rushan did not know how to die, could not achieve the effect of revenge, nor could it weaken the hatred in Yekong. Yekong will make him shame. Make him afraid. Make him miserable. Finally sent him to death. Seeing that no one came out of the hall, Yekong snorted coldly, patted the storage bag, and a waist-shaped female yarn fan flew out. Big. As soon as Yekong ordered, the fan grew up against the wind, and in a blink of an eye, it reached a size of 3 feet. Looking at the big fan covering the clouds and the sun in the sky, watching the people couldn't help but stick out their tongues. The treasures of Xianxia are really powerful, but they can grow so big, I just don't know what wonderful use this big fan has. They soon understood the magical use of the fan, and saw Yekong point his finger at the fan a little, and the big fan immediately fanned down. There was a gale in the palace immediately, and the gale could blow even the boulder, not to mention the house hall. Whoa, a hurricane blew the big stone lion outside the main hall, rolling it, and smashing the carved gate of the main hall of the Golden Hall into a big hole. The strong wind blew in from the door and blasted the ministers, guards, and various objects inside. Block, the young monk was busy holding up an umbrella-shaped defensive weapon to block the wind and prevent an Rushan from being harmed. Fan. Hard fan, Yekong continued to light the fan, the wind was getting stronger and stronger, and finally Jinjindian could not bear it. Boom, and it turns into countless tiles and woods flying up into the air. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 220. Defeat 219. The immortals are so powerful, they quickly demolished the emperor's golden palace. The stunned people had never thought that the tall and sacred golden palace in their hearts was demolished in a blink of an eye. It seems that your majesty has really provoked someone who should not be provoked this time, another people sighed. When the golden palace was dismantled, 3 people were standing in front of the dragon chair. Among them, a majestic man wearing a dragon robe was the emperor in Rushan. Looking at Yekong in the air, the 2 monks glanced at each other. Obviously, the information was wrong, and the boy was not Xianxia. But it's just the 6th floor of gas refining. Do NT worry too much? It's 2 floors taller. For 2 foundation builders, even if you are 2 floors higher, what can you do? Let's go over first. The young monk asked the old monk to protect in Rushan, while he put away the umbrella-shaped magic weapon and threw out a flying sword. But Yekong, the opposite side of the gas repairing, the young monk asked arrogantly, pointing at Yekong. Who are you? Yekong held his hands on his chest without revealing any horror. Arrogant. Even in Lingyaoshan, those gas refining monks must call me a master uncle. The young man snorted and said, the real person is the 3-generation disciple Xianxia, played by enthusiastic reader Xianxia, under the ancestral seat of the elixir of Shanlian Fanshan. Although this Huang Jiakai looks awesome, Yekong still hears that this kid is not a core disciple. Under the ancestor of Lian Fanshan, all monks of Kuanyao Yaoshan can claim to be like this. If they are like Lian Rulan or Master Ma, they should claim to be the disciples of a certain monk, rather than vaguely speaking the 3 generations of disciples. Huang Jiakai reported himself to the family and found that the other party did not respect the consciousness of his predecessors. He was annoyed and rebuked, "Yekong, the real person's task is to protect the emperor and Guo. Your rebellion have nothing to do with us, and we do not want to hold you accountable. You should retreat to the mountains and forests to practice with peace of mind, but now you are so bold, you have come to the door, and you have destroyed the Golden Palace Hall. Do NT blame our predecessors for being ruthless? No mercy under you. What do you want?" Yekong looked at him with the corner of his eyes. This boy was so disrespectful of the fairy. Huang Jiakai was a little angry, and patted a storage bag, and a simple flying sword hovered in front of him. "A retreat on the 6th floor of gas refining, I don't know which one you are crazy about. I really don't want to give you a terrific look." "Really?" Yekong also patted the storage bag, and Ursuo's sword appeared in his hand, and then a small brass bell flew out. The bell grew to the size of a sea bowl and hung in front of Yekong. "Do you want to teach me the real person?" Yekong said coldly. The most nervous person who watched the battle below was in Rushan. The gust of wind had blown away his soul, and that courage had long been scared from his eyes. When he saw it, he would start a fight. He asked the old monk around him, "Immortal Master, can Huangxian Master win?" The old monk was not as reckless as Huang Jiakai. He looked at the 2 Chinese instruments that Yekong had taken out and said, "I didn't expect this boy to be a little famous." Unlike ordinary casual repairs, he dared to provoke Master Huang. "He has 2 brushes. When the old monk said that Yekong had 2 brushes, and Rushan suddenly became nervous. "Will I be in danger?" The old monk saw that he was afraid of this, thinking that he was just going to go out. He could not help but despise him, and said, "Your Majesty, you don't have to be too scared. He only has 2 brushes. Our brother Huang is a rookie among the real people in Zuji, the best. How can we not fight the minor repairs in the gas refining period? Besides, there isn't me. If neither of our 2 real people can beat a 6-layer gas refining monk, it's better to buy a piece of tofu and run into it." And Rushan then felt relieved, nodded, and said, "The immortal teacher said it reasonably, I was too careful." He was only relieved here, but he had already begun to move. I saw Huang Jiakai raised a hand to Yekong and yelled, "Go." Suddenly, the flying sword turned into a streamer, piercing the leaf on the opposite flying carpet. Just this skill? It's really embarrassing. Yekong has gone through a lot of battles, all of whom are monks who build foundations and knots. They have never encountered weak hands. Like the early foundation construction before the instrument, he is not a good little real person. He no longer looks in his eyes. Huang Jiakai heard that Yekong despised himself, and was annoyed in his heart that he could not kill Yekong on the spot. Who knew that just as Fei Jian was about to stab Yekong, Yekong suddenly forefinger facing the Dementor bell in front of him, and a blast of wind popped out. Dang! The crisp bell rang in everyone's ears. The old monk watching the battle only felt that his heart was shocked. The sense of consciousness seemed to have lost contact with Qi Hai. There was only one thought in his mind, not good. Is it a sound attack tool, or very powerful audio attack? In general, the magic instruments, including the sound attack instruments, depend on the user's practice. If they are used by their own or weaker opponents, then the effect is extraordinary. However, if the opponent is higher than himself, much higher, the effect is poor. Where does the old monk know that there is a soul of an old ancestor in this dementing bell? That kind of power is almost as powerful as an ancestor in the early days of Dan's attack on them. What about these early monks, can I be spared? Huang Jiakai was also bitter in his heart. I didn't expect that the boy was so powerful and his weapon was so powerful that he was shocked by his consciousness. After he was a little rested, he looked again, but found that Yekong was already standing in front of him, and a thin and black USO sword was touching his throat. As a proud disciple of Ling Yaoshan, he is always high above him. Where would he be expected to be so bad? He was defeated by a refining gas repairer with only one move, which made Huang Jiakai flushed. But it wasn't the time to be shy, but now it was time to die. Yekong's sword pointed at his throat, and his life and death were only between the other person's thoughts. Yedaiu. Huang Jiakai wanted to ask for mercy, but couldn't say. Huh, aren't you very arrogant? The Huangzhen of Linjiashan, Yekong snorted and withdrew Wusuojian, so he said, if it weren't for me and your real Yanruo mountain, Ma Xiao Ei, the real person is a little bit affectionate, and I will take your life today. Wusuojian left Huang Jiakai's neck, and he was relieved. Huang Jiakai, who was safe, had an idea in his heart. He just accidentally took the road just now. Maybe he is not afraid of him if he has precautions. Yekong saw his dissatisfaction in his eyes, and said aloud, want to fight again? But I warn you that my patience is not good. My nickname in the southern capital is Plague God. I have at least 10 ways it can take your life. If you don't believe it, try it. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 221. Killing your family. Although Huang Jiakai hated, he was also scared, thinking that the power of the sound attack just now was too strong. Even if he had prepared himself, he would be shocked. You're ruthless. Huang Jiakai flew back with a flying sword. Below, the old monk saw Huang Jiakai's defeat. He knew that this gas refining minor repair was not so simple. Even if he attacked with Huang Jiakai, he couldn't be sure. After all, this sound attacking tool and ordinary defense weapon could not resist at all. This, how is this good? And Rushan panicked. The two real people he thought would have been beheaded by Niu X would surely kill Yekong. Who knows that Huang Jiakai, who was so disappointed with his nostrils, was a real person. Without a single blow, they knocked on the bell and lost. It's almost unbeatable. It's okay, the old monk snarled, and didn't say much. He kicked the dragon chair behind and Rushan, and saw that under the dragon chair, it was a console for the formation. The old monk patted the storage bag again, took out a medium-grade spirit stone, quickly installed it on the console, and suddenly a yellow light rose. Huang Jiakai saw that the old monk had started the formation, and he quickly flew in. Subsequently, Huang Guang suddenly turned on, and then, both monks and An Rushan lost their tracks. Not good, it's a teleportation team, Yekong was startled. He didn't expect that a teleportation team had been set up in the Jinyu Hall. How could it be good for An Rushan to escape? It would be difficult to find him again. At this time, Dao said, don't worry, this is not a teleportation array. This is just a formation. It has a purposeful effect. I can feel that all three of them stay in the formation. Oh, I didn't leave, I'm relieved. Yekong took out the wooden shield weapon that was damaged by Huolin last time, manipulated him to become bigger, and then slammed on the formation. Bang, a loud noise shook An Rushan in the formation. Two immortals, how is this good? An Rushan panicked, his eyes filled with fear. I am afraid of this. You are still called An Rushan. Huang Jiakai was defeated by Yekong, and he was very upset. He taunted and said, this is a small ensemble of geomagnetism transmitted by Shizu, although it is only small, but the defense is also amazing. You need not panic. Even if the ancestors of Yuanying come, they can't be broken in a short while. My son, this may be the Tianmao geomagnetic array. Dao took a closer look and said, there was a magneto-electric flicker on the instrument just now. I guess it must be this array. Is this matrix method strong? Yekong asked with a frown. Dao nodded and said, it is indeed very powerful. Many schools in this Tianmao geomagnetic array are used as mountain guards. How can it not be strong? But this is not the true Tianmao geomagnetic array. It may be a simplified version. If I go out, it should be able to hit hard, but it will take some time. Oh, that's right, aren't you in danger? Yekong asked again. No, although the defensive geomagnetic array method is amazingly defensive, its attack power is weak, and it needs a huge magnet, so the general martial arts have given up using this array. After listening to Dao saying this, Yekong released her. Boom, when Dao's huge dragon tail hit the formation fiercely, the three people inside were shocked and speechless. Oh my god! This is really a dragon, Huang Jiakai exclaimed. He thought Yekong was just a water dragon technique. Where it was expected, he really released a dragon. Although the water dragon technique can also release this water condensed dragon, how can it be so large and not so flexible and fierce? The old monk nodded and said, this may be a mutant dragon. Although it is not a beast dragon, but its power is also amazing. I am afraid we are really in danger this time. Huang Jiakai said angrily, then you are still nonsense? Hurry up and release the note, and ask the ancestor of the mountain gate to come to the rescue. Just then, I heard outside, Yekong's voice clearly passed in. And Rushan, that's okay. I didn't want to kill you first, you destroyed me and I destroyed you, haha, let you taste the pain of losing your loved ones. Her Majesty, Yamao will come soon, don't worry, ha ha ha. The sun was shining and the weather was good. Today, all the people in the capital city are panicking and looking at the direction of the imperial city. In mid-air, a crystal transparent dragon was shaking its big tail, pounding on the ruins of the golden temple, and every time you hit it, you could feel the ground shaking. For the worship of Shenlong, hundreds of people knelt down and scratched their heads, and various rumors were circulating in the city. Some said that this was the revenge of General Yeharan's son, and some said that the emperor and Rushan offended the dragon and received punishment. In short, the palace that is usually high above the ground has now become hell. Those civil and military hundred official positions they fled, and those soldiers and eunuchs did not dare to stay long. They stole some valuable things in the palace and ran out, but they just stopped and were stopped by a large number of people. The people believed that they had angered the dragon god, and there was a violent beating up, and few were able to go out alive. Imperial City Harem, Xianxia Palace, the residence of the eldest son of the emperor. Big Prince, run away, the evil star said that he would destroy the door of the house, and old took the big prince and left. However, the young prince slammed his sleeves and said angrily, I was born a great prince. I can't escape when I am in a crisis. I discard the palace because I am benevolent. For infidelity and filial piety, how can I do such injustice and filial piety? The old smiled bitterly. He is really a nerd prince. At this terrible moment, it is important to save his life, but also to care about loyalty, filial piety, and justice. Big Prince, I'm begging you, please run away. I believe you must be a good emperor in the future, but it's important to save your life now. The great prince and Fi Yiwen said, is that 100,000 forbidden soldiers vegetarian? What are the faces of the royal family when we flee? The old said, it's the immortals who come to avenge. Those mortal soldiers have fled clean. The eldest sighed, Father Emperor is confused, I didn't approve of cutting General Yeharan to the door, but now I regret it too late. Yes, it's too late to regret it. Suddenly a sneer came from outside the hall, and a young boy about the same age as Fi Yiwen came in. Rebel! Don't come over, the old stood up in panic, blocking Fi Yiwen. Do you think you can stop me? Yekong hurriedly moved forward, with a relentless sneer in his face. Xianxia. The big prince is not a bad person. He will be a good emperor. He didn't kill anyone in Yes family, you should spare him. He shouldn't have died like this, the old kneeled at Yet. In front of the heir, keep hoeing.